My name is Lillie Ruth May. I am a trustee at the Abyssinian Baptist Church. And on August the 28th, 1963, I was 12 years old and I was living in the state of Mississippi. And I knew about the March on Washington on August 28th, 1963, and it's framed based on a relative. So in Mississippi, I was living with my family, and my family consisted of not only my father and my mother, but my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncles. We had cousins, and there was my grandfather's cousin, and his name was Ezel Calmes. And at that particular time, he was 90 plus years old. So the reason I can frame my memory of August the 28th, 1963 is based on this cousin Ezel Calmes. He, as I said, he was 90 years old, but he loved Dr. King. He admired Dr. King. And that sort of like surprised me. And anytime Dr. King was on the television or news, because in those days we had 3 stations, CBS, NBC, and ABC. And cousin Ezel, since he was 90 years old, he wasn't working. So if the television was on, it was news he was watching if Dr. King was on. And he loved Dr. King. And the thing that struck me is because he always referred to Dr. King as Dr. King. He never referred to him as Martin. He always addressed him as Dr. King. And again, this was something that was new to me because he being 90 years old. And in Mississippi, we always referred to our elders as Mr., Mrs., Aunt, whatever. And for him to be so adamant about calling Dr. King, it arrested my attention. So even though I don't remember exactly the March on Washington, but if it was on the news, I knew about it. Because cousin Ezel, he would make sure if Dr. King was any place on television, he was watching it. So also during that particular time, didn't matter what Dr. King was doing, he was watching Dr. King. And he said, Dr. King, that arrested me. Because the way Dr. King articulated his speech, if Dr. King was speaking, cousin Ezel was watching, and you could see this light like in his eyes, the way his mood changed when Dr. King came on TV. And he said it with such pride, Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King. And he also said, but they're going to kill him. He said, white people are going to kill him. He's not going to live. Because in those particular days, you could not be a black person, articulate your feelings about being black and standing up and being black. If you did, you put your life at risk. And he said he knew Dr. King was at risk, that they were going, and he didn't say they, he said white people are going to kill him. And in 1968, when Dr. King was murdered, that was the first time I've seen him cry. And he cried, he said they killed Dr. King. So even though I was 12 and I don't actually remember what happened with the March on Washington, but if it was on television, trust me, I saw it. Because of cousin Ezel, he would make sure that the TV was on. And in those days, if the TV was on, we were watching because we had nothing else to do. And that's my recollection of the March on Washington in 1963.